Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel So Little Time, and my name is Karen. So I hope you're all doing really well. As you can see, I'm doing another video outside, so you can tell that we're having just such a glorious summer here in the UK at the moment. It's so lovely and so warm. I can't believe how lucky we've been. You know, I know the plants and the grass are really suffering, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. So today I have a really exciting video to share with you. Myself and the other sewing bloggers for Felicity Fabrics have come together to bring you a group kind of blog. Now, Felicity Fabrics are run by the lovely Caroline and Fliss team, who are just such a wonderful mother and daughter duo to work for. I absolutely love working for them. They are just so generous and so amazing, and you know, they don't put any time restraints on us usually, so that's really nice, because all of us are usually quite late with our blogs. But yeah, they actually challenged us this time for all of us to go away and make a top, and the only rule was to include some piping in your make. So as you can see, I've got a top on here which I do have my piping inserted, so I'm going to go through the top in a lot more detail with you. But what I will do is, in the description box below, just link the actual blog post so you can see everybody else's makes. And at the current time of filming, I don't know what anybody else has made. We don't know which fabrics we chose from Felicity Fabrics, and we don't know obviously how we've inserted the piping and stuff as such. So it's all going to be a big surprise for all of us. So I decided to try and find a pattern that I'd not actually made before, because the obvious sort of option for me was going to be the sagebrush top, where you could insert piping where the yoke is. So I was trying to find something similar to that, but not go with that option, because I've made that a couple of times already and I wanted just to challenge myself. So I decided to look through patterns that I'd already got, and I actually decided to make a top from Lauren Guthrie's book. Now, Lauren Guthrie was the one, I think she was a runner-up in the first Great British Sewing Bee series. And she brought out a book when she first opened up her shop in Moseley in Birmingham. And this is the book here. It's called Learn to Sew with Lauren, and it's got some lovely projects inside, not just dressmaking, but also, you know, houseware, purses and that kind of thing. So I went along to one of her workshops and made a skirt from this book, and so she's actually signed the book for me as well, which is really nice. And so I've been meaning to make a few more projects out of this book. I think I've made the simple top that's included in it and a skirt, like I say, when I went on the workshop. So I had a look through and decided to make the yoke top, which is what I'm wearing. So I'll quickly flick to the page where the yoke top is, just so you can see the pattern itself, because there are a couple of variations included, and she does this with a few of the patterns in there. There are 2 variations for each pattern, so that's quite nice. So this is the yoke top here. So you can see this lady here is wearing one, I think it's made out of like a cotton poplin, and she's got the lovely piping across here, and then this lovely gathering detail just here, and this stand-up collar. And then if I turn the page over, it gives you all sort of the instructions on how to make it, and then some little diagrams. And then on the other side here, you can see that on the back it's got the piping as well, and a lovely yoke section with some buttons there. So I decided to go with that option, because there is another variation where you can make it with pleats here instead of gathering. So I went with the gathering option because I just preferred that look, and I really did like the look of the way the lady was wearing it on here. So the size range in this book is quite small, really. So at the back it gives you the sizes for the patterns. There are also some children's patterns included in this. So the adult size guide goes from a size 8 through to an 18, and there's like a little chart here, and then you've got a children's size guide which is from age 2 to age 8. So I went with my bust, waist and hip measurement to decide what size I was going to make. It doesn't give you the finished garment measurements, unfortunately, because I always tend to use that to help me work out what size I'm going to use. So I didn't have any idea how much ease was built into this pattern. So initially I cut out the size 12, which is a bust 36, a waist 30 and a hip 40. So my waist, I think, is about a 29 inch, and my bust is slightly smaller than 36. It's about a 34 to 35 inch, and my hips are about a 41 inch. So I thought I was going with the right size for me, but I made up the bottom bit of the top itself just to try on for size, and it was absolutely huge, which I was quite surprised at, because when I've made the skirt from this book in the past, I made the size 10 and that fitted me absolutely perfectly. So I thought I'd size up, because I have gained weight since I made that skirt. I made that years ago only just after I'd had Harry, I think. So yeah, I probably, if I was to make the skirt again, I'd probably make the size 12. But yeah, the top just turned out so big, I was really quite surprised. So in the end, I opted to make the size 8. So I just retraced the pattern, and the pattern sheets are included in the front and back of this book. And what I will say is that the pattern pieces weren't all on one sheet. I think there's 7, like it's double-sided, so there's 7 sides to the sheets, and the pattern pieces were on all of them, so it wasn't just on one, which was annoying. I mean, I'm guessing she's spaced it out adequately so she can fit all the pattern pieces on in one respect, but that was a bit annoying, having to get each sheet out, trace off a pattern piece as such. So it's got the front yoke, the 2 back yoke pieces, and then the front bodice and the back bodice, and then it's got this collar which is just one piece, and you interface one side of that. I have to say the sew overall was okay. I did find a few points of it quite tricky with regards to the piping section, so that is an optional feature as well. So the piping itself went in absolutely fine on the front and the back, but then you're left with these bits at the side and you have to kind of fold them in, and that was really quite tricky to get it neat. I mean, on the inside it's not actually that neat, to be honest, but you know, nobody's going to see it, so it's absolutely fine. And you actually construct the underarm seam here with some bias binding, and you do that separate before adding the yoke section on, because this is double-sided, so it's completely lined, which is really nice, and so all the raw edges are enclosed around here, but then you attach that separately to the bottom of the arm section here. So it is a bit of a strange construction, not anything that I've ever done before, that's for sure. So it really did sort of test me a little bit, and considering this book it takes you through from, I think, beginner through to more tricky. This was in the more tricky section, so I do agree with that because it was quite tricky. The gathering was absolutely fine because there is only a very small portion here. So I'm really pleased with how the top has turned out, actually. Will I make it again? I'm not 100% sure. I may well do. I think when I first finished making it, I was a bit traumatised by just the way some of the things were finished. But yeah, I think probably I will make it again because it's turned out really, really nice. I really like the collar. So I'm going to put the book down just and give you a bit more detail of the top itself. Right, so this is the collar here. As you can see, it's like a stand-up type collar. It's got a seam line just running around here, and that's interfaced on one side, so it does hold the shape really nicely. The yoke, like I said, is completely lined, so all the raw edges are enclosed there. I'm going to turn around so you can see that I've got functional buttonholes and buttons down the back. Just used some wooden ones that I had in my stash. Now, I ran out of white thread and I haven't been able to get to a shop, and I just don't want to order online, so I used a red thread which was very similar to this to do the buttonholes, and I think it looks okay. Let's see if you can see. I don't even know, you might not be able to see them. The actual buttonholes are horizontal, they're not vertical, which I usually do vertical, so I followed the instructions and did horizontal. I didn't put the markings on there, I just literally did it afterwards, so I didn't even do the buttonholes when it told you to. I did it afterwards because I just wanted to sew it all up and then work out where I needed to place them that was right for me, because I sometimes think that if you use the placement it's not always right for you. So I'm going to pan you down now so you can see this lovely gathering section here with the piping detail, and I really like that. So I've picked out this sort of red colour that's in the fabric here, and this is a cotton fabric. I think it's just 100% cotton. It's not, I don't think it's a quilting cotton, I'd probably say it's more like a poplin. So it's really, really nice to work with, you know, it absolutely behaved itself. And then I'll stand back and show you that the top actually just comes down to sort of mid-hip area, and I've added a really nice detail on it where I'd ran out of the white thread. I decided to use, I'm going to have to pan you down a bit more, the red colourway, and I did like a little star hem just using a decorative stitch on my sewing machine. Yeah, and I really like how that looks actually. It just picks out, like I say, the red in the flowers and the leaves that are on in this fabric. Right, and then if I turn around, you'll see that it's got the piping across the back as well. I'm going to move this way so you can see the back itself. So yeah, just sits really, really nicely. The armholes are just the right height, perfect, you know, not too low, so it doesn't show any bra off, and it's just really, really comfortable, I have to say. And I really like the way the gathering comes across the bust. I think it's really flattering as well. So I will show you where I mean about the finishing on the inside that I wasn't keen on. So you've got this piping detail, and then you actually fold that into the seam allowance on the inside. Now this won't look too bad because I managed to tuck it into the seam allowance here where you've got the inside of the yoke, and you hand sew that yoke down on the inside, so you had to hand sew it all the way across here. But on the back, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, it's a little bit more messy. I don't even know if I'm going to show you. So you can see, oh, I don't know what that was, something landed on me. So you can see here that it's got my seam allowance, that you had to overlock all the seam allowances together, and then you kind of have to get the piping in with that, if that makes sense. So I have to kind of just push that down. I have pressed it down, so it's fine when it's down. If it starts sticking up, then you can see it. So that's the only thing I would say that I wasn't overly keen on the way that was finished. Whether there's a better way of finishing it, I really don't know, because I've not done a top like this before. But overall, I'm really happy with it. It's a really nice shape. You know, it cuts in nicely at the shoulders. The neckline just sits right. It's not too tight, it's not too loose, and then the way it flows over your bust is really nice. And then it has got a very slight A-line shape, so it just skims over my hips just right. So definitely didn't need to go any smaller, and if I'd have gone any bigger, I think it would have been still a little bit too blousy for me, because I do quite like things that are a little bit more close fitting. But yeah, absolutely love how this has turned out. So overall, I'm really pleased. Really did enjoy the challenge, because I wouldn't have made this top up if it wasn't for Felicity Fabrics setting us this challenge. So I have to say thank you to them, because it finally got me to make a top out of that book as well. You know, I've got a number of sewing books, and some of the patterns I've never even tried before, and really there are some beautiful patterns out of the sewing books that I've got, so I need to make more of an effort. So let me know what you think to this top. Have you ever made anything out of that book before? I'd be interested to know, because it's not really one that you see people using as much. I did sort of try and have a look and see if there was a hashtag for this top. I think maybe 1 or 2 people had made it, but hardly any, so that was quite interesting. And yeah, there are some really nice patterns in that book, so I do recommend the book. And also at the beginning of the book, it has got some really good techniques in there, like with regards to bias binding, making your own piping, doing pleats, gathers, you know, it's got all that in there. So it's a really good reference book as well. So I'm really pleased that I've got that book. I've thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've made out of it, and I really enjoyed being able to go on one of the courses that was initially being done at the time when the book was first released. So like I say, I will link down in the description box below for you the blog post for all of the other bloggers for Felicity Fabrics, so you can see what they've made. I'm really interested to see what they've done. I absolutely love working for them, like I say, and so I just want to say thank you to them for having me on board all this time. It's just been such a lovely time doing blogs for them. They're so generous with the fabrics, and they're beautiful fabrics. And don't forget, I do have a discount code for you all to use, which is Karen10, to get 10% off for your order, and that never expires. So please do make sure you use that if you ever purchase some fabric from them, because then you can get a little bit of money off. So thank you very much for watching today. I do hope you have enjoyed this video. Please do give me that all important like. It does help YouTube to share my video with others. They aren't sharing my videos as much these days anymore. You know, thanks ever so much, YouTube. But yeah, if you could just click that like, that would be really great. And if you haven't subscribed already and would like to, then please do click that subscribe button, not forgetting the bell as well. So take care, everybody, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye.